If you've ever been a teenager or ever raised a teenager, these words have probably floated through your dining room or your living room at some point. Get a job. Welcome to Leading Leaders Podcast. 5-minute videos, 5 days a week. I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. And I know people have said, get a job over and over and over again. Sometimes to their teenagers, sometimes to the young 20s, sometimes to the 30-year-olds still live in the basement. But get a job is a pretty common phrase for someone who, likes to sponge off everybody else. Someone who doesn't want to get up, get out of bed. They just want to sit around the house and eat Cheetos all day. And if you like Cheetos, it's not against your Cheetos. It's against your unwillingness to get a job. So the question you might be asking yourself is, then how do I get a job? Well, there are a lot of ways to answer that question. I should have grabbed it before I come over here. There's a book called 30 Days to Fast Cash, and there's one called a money machine or a cash machine, and there's the concept of the 21st century lemonade stand. All of these are ideas that are promoted by the integrated wealth systems or Loren Norris, and she talks about the idea that, back in the day, if you will, back in the good old days when I was a kid, there was an opportunity for just about any kid to pack up his mom's lemonade and some ice cubes and some paper cups and set up in the front yard and make lemonade and sell lemonade to the neighbors as they go by. And maybe they'd buy it for a couple of bucks. But if the kid was industrious enough to do that, they could make an extra 30 or 40 bucks for the week. Now, that seems like a silly idea, but the question you have to ask yourself is, how much would you make on a job if you were 12? And the answer, 30 or 40 bucks a week, is not bad money if you're 12. I mean, unless you've got a paper route, which I don't even think they have those anymore because we have blogs. And lemonade stands are a little hard to compete with, say, a Starbucks drive-thru or the snow cone guy on the corner. But it's not impossible. The real question is, what is it that I can do? And so here really lies the tension in the concept of get a job. Now, I've tagged a friend in this post, a guy by the name of Mike McCormack. And I'm sure this whole shift of the first quarter of 2020 has kind of slowed down what he does, because a lot of what he does has to do directly with school districts. But Mike McCormack has a very unique set of gifts. Having been a school principal, having been in the education system for decades, what he realized is there were a whole lot of kids that were coming out of high school, going off into the get a job world, and some of them trying to go straight into get a job with their high school diploma. Some trying to go straight into the get a job world without finishing high school. And some going, what do I go to college for? I mean, if I'm supposed to go to college, what do I study? What am I made for? What am I wired for? And so Mike has this very unique assessment system where he looks at all the personality traits, the places that you've scored well in academics. And it's kind of like the military's ASVAB test, where it looks at all the skills and basic understandings that you have. And it says, you're really off the charts in this area, but not so much in this area. A job like this would be great for you. This would be really hard for you. And so Mike's system literally puts someone through a system of testing. And it says, based on the type of personality that you have, the places where you excel academically, the type of job that you would like to have, based on its description, not its title or the company name, it looks like you'd be really good as a blank. And that decision is derived at based on the skill sets of someone else who already has that job and has done really well in it. You have very similar personalities to this person. You have a very similar academic acceleration in one area, like this person. You've done really well at this type of performance, like this person. And this person is the CEO of XYZ company. If you were to begin a career track moving that direction, chances are you would succeed very well. Now, that's a powerful tool to have in your hand. But it doesn't mean that you have to finish a process like that or take an SAT or take an ACT before you can get a job. Because getting a job, being a W-2 employee, getting your benefits paid for and your taxes shared, etc., may be a goal along the way, but it's not the end goal. I believe the end goal would be financial independence. It would be the ability to say, I make my own schedule, I hang out with who I want to, when I want to, where I want to, and if I want to. And because I get to make that decision, I get to choose my friends, choose my destinations, choose my career track, choose my education level, and I can pivot or change at any point. You may or may not know this, but I'll challenge you to look it up. You can find on YouTube, Laurel Langmeyer explains how she became a millionaire before her 40th birthday as a single mom. After going to college, I believe it was for kinesiology. She has a completely different philosophy about money and get a job. You might want to take a look at that. But then there are people who have worked and saved and invested, and they've worked their way to retirement, and they've retired at 40 years old or 30 years old because they've worked very hard at a job for someone else. The answer to how do I get a job isn't as simple as make someone hire me or cheat on my resume or get XYZ degree. You're going to have to ask yourself, what do I want to do? And what am I suited for? What are my gifts? What are my talents? What are my passions? And if you're having a hard time with that, you probably need to get a coach, even if for a short time. Someone who's going to help you ask those tough questions like, what am I made for? What am I good at? Where would I excel? And then it'll be a whole lot easier to get a job. But right now, you got to get started. Because whether you're starting out or you're starting over, you still have to get started. I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day. Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.